If you're a federal government employee and you're thinking about retirement, there is more to retirement than you just hitting your minimum retirement age. So if you're worried about retirement, or as a matter of fact, you're thinking about retirement, there are key decisions that you need to think about before you retire. That way, you can make a profound difference in your retirement and enjoy the moments in life that matters to you. So let's dive into this video, and then we'll be able to show you what those key decisions are. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the emotional decisions can impact your retirement, right? Oftentimes people make emotional decisions rather than rational decisions when it comes to like retirement, right? An example would be the stock market. Well, you have your money in the C fund or CSNI, which is the stock market, right? And then what do? You've seen tremendous amount of growth in there over your lifetime, okay? And then remember, stock market can recover, but emotional decisions usually don't, right? So an example, stock market goes down, and you look at your TSP balance, you see a red of like, let's say $200,000. Then you panic. Well, the first thing that you need to understand is, what does that red actually means? Most people will translate that red as like a lost money. Well, no, that doesn't mean that you lost money. All that red is telling you in your statement is saying that, hey, if you do something today, if you sell out of the stock market today, this is how much you're going to lose. Think of that for a second. If you know what the red means, are you going to sell to lose that $200,000? No, you're not going to do that. So that's what it means. It's not a loss, it's a paper loss. So the only time that you lose that $200,000 if you panic and then sell. And then most people emotionally, that's what they do. Because you see, in the times when the stock market is down, there are two competing emotions that's actually happening in you, okay, inside you. One is basically telling you that, oh, sell everything out. You better sell this out before you lose even more. And the other one is telling you that, oh, do not do anything else. You know what? If you don't have an advisor who is going to advise you on that, most of the time, the emotion that's telling you that you better sell tend to win. So you end up like selling, and you immediately create a $200,000 loss for yourself, which if you do that over and over again in your retirement, that could be catastrophic, right? So think about this. You do that now, you create a $200,000 loss, you put your money into the G fund where it's safe, and then now a month goes by, you see the stock market going up, everybody's talking about it, stock market is going up. Then what do? You look at all this green, you say, okay, now I'm going to take that money from the G fund, I'm going to put it into the stock market again. But guess what? You already created $200,000 loss. Now you're going to go in here and you're going to even buy at a very high price. So you get in, then next month later, stock market goes down. What do? You panic and you sell again. So you see, if you do this over and over again, this is how you can blow up your retirement. We don't want that to happen, right? So therefore, you want to make sure that you make rational decisions on this. I'm going to give you an example. If you go to an amusement park and you on a, let's say, for example, a roller coaster, you get into the roller coaster, put your belt on, and then off you go. It goes woo, 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 and you get scared. Well, what do? Do you basically unbelt yourself and then just throw yourself out? No. No matter, I don't know what you're going to do. Are you going to stay there until you come out? And then when you come out, like, okay, you can say whatever you want to say, but you know what? At least you save yourself from actually falling off of the roller coaster. You don't want that to happen. Same thing with the market. So we want to make sure that we take that emotional charge when it comes to the stock market, okay? Now, knowing the rules also is very, very important. Rules about your benefits, rules about your TSP withdrawal, so many rules around your retirement is extremely important, because if you don't know the rules, you can make the wrong decision in your retirement, and some of these decisions are, they're irrevocable, right? You cannot go back and then basically change that. So knowing the rules is extremely, extremely important out there. So you don't make sure you do these kind of like mistakes out there. An example would be so many people, I get so many stories out there. One of our prospects actually came to us, went to another finance advisor about the decision here is about making a spousal benefit decision. The other finance advisor basically recommended that, hey, you can waive this spousal benefit. Why do you have to pay 10% of your pension to secure a pension for your spouse? What we could do is we can get a life insurance for you outside, That way, when you die, we could take that life insurance and be able to give that to your spouse to actually, so that we can create a better living for her, right? And by the way, that's going to be tax-free. Well, while I understand that might be a great strategy or another, but that is not the best thing for you as a federal employee. Because in that scenario out there, if you die, you're the federal employee, and then your spouse is not, then the problem here is your spouse is not going to be able to have that life insurance anymore, that FEHB anymore. That is going to be, that's going to be catastrophic. Not the life insurance, the FEHB. He or she is not going to be able to get that, carry that FEHB going into retirement, right? So you got to remember that if you waive the survivor benefit and your spouse is not a federal employee, when you die, your spouse is not going to be able to carry that FEHB going into retirement. And we all know that one of the most impressive benefits that you'll have as a federal employee is your health insurance. So I could give you so many stories out there, but knowing the rules is extremely, extremely important when it comes to retirement. All right. So the next step that we're going to talk about here is the biggest retirement mistakes made by federal employees, right? Okay, right? Let's talk about that. There's so many mistakes out there, but these are key mistakes that federal government employees tend to make when he goes into retirement. No income plan. Like I mentioned this on my other video out there. People go into retirement, they don't have any income plan. Well, we know that you retire on income. While you're working, you depend on your paycheck coming in every single every single month, or every pay period, if you will, right? You rely on that income coming in. Well, you also want to make sure when you go into retirement, you have an income plan, an income that you're going to rely on every single month while you're in retirement. Because if you don't have a right income plan, what's going to happen to you? You're going to feel very, very, very unsecured in retirement. Because you know what? If the market goes down and you look at your balances, you want to take money out, you're going to be scared. You don't want to take money out. You live in what I call the just-in-case retirement, meaning that you look at every single time the market goes down, you don't take money out just in case because you're scared. So you're gonna stop basically taking money out. Number one, you're gonna cut on your retirement things that you want to do in retirement, just in case the market goes down. So you do that over time, just in case. You live in a just-in-case retirement, and then guess what? When you die, that money goes to who? Your beneficiaries or your kids or whatever, if you have kids or whatever it is. And guess what are they going to do with that money? They're going to basically spend that money, and they're going to do the things that you want to do in retirement. But you're not doing that now because you live in a just-in-case retirement. Please do not live in just-in-case retirement. Have a very good income plan. That way you can live a profound retirement. Now, the other thing that mistake they make is, ignoring healthcare timing, right? Healthcare is extremely, extremely important, especially for guys. We tend to think that, we're invisible, we're not going to be able to, nothing will happen to us. Or we're healthy, we go to the gym, we're good. But you know what though? As we get older, you get to that distinguished age, things break in your body, right? So you got to plan for that, making sure that you have a plan for it. And your FEHB, while it's fantastic, while it's great, is not going to provide for you when you need long-term care. So long-term care is probably the biggest expense that you'll pay in your lifetime. Most people, their biggest expense is what? Their mortgage, their car, or maybe, you name it. I think those are the two, right? Or maybe their rent. You know what? If you think those are expensive, long-term care, it will make those kind of like really, really, really small. So making sure that you have a plan around healthcare is extremely, extremely important in retirement. Now, portfolio extremes, right? And this happens all the time. I see this all the time, meaning that, some people get into retirement, they're probably in their 70s, they have all of their money in the C fund. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, why are you taking that much risk out there? And I've also seen people that are retired, that probably retired, they put everything into the G fund out there. So you have all these extremes out there. Well, I'm not saying that, you should be either one or the other. What I'm trying to tell you is you gotta know the consequences of doing those extremes, right? Now, if you have all of your money in the C fund, if the market goes down, that portfolio is gonna go down. And then most people will say, oh, when the market goes down, it's going to come back up. Well, if you're in your 70s, right, do you have enough time for it to kind of like to come back up? What if you let the market come back up, come down, and your balance is affected now, and then around that point, you do need healthcare. You do need money for your healthcare. Maybe bad news, you have long-term care needs. You gotta start taking money out over here. You're gonna deplete this money very, very quickly. If you have all of the money in the G fund over here where it's safe, well, you know that things are getting more and more expensive. So this G fund, if you have $1 million today, this $1 million, what it can buy today is not going to be able to buy the same thing 5 years from now because of like inflation and all that. So you got to think about it now, looking at your portfolio to make sure that your portfolio is mixed in the right way. That way you can protect some of it and then also grow some of it. Will make sense for you in retirement. No stress testing, right? We just let things go in there thinking that, okay, everything will be fine. When it comes down, it's going to go back up, right? You don't want to do that. You always want to constantly check your portfolio, and that's why portfolio review is very, very important. Timely portfolio review is very important. That way you can change things, because you know what? In life, in retirement, life itself, like so many things happen. There's so many events that will happen in life that will warrant for you to also go back to your portfolio and then be able to make adjustments out there. That way you can realign. Think of it as your brand new car, okay? When you take that car from the dealership, right? You look at the car, you enjoy driving it, like, all the technology, you like it, right? You're enjoying it. Now you do that, you drive that car for like the next, 5 years? Guess what's going to happen? The alignment is going to go away. So now, next thing you know, when you get that car out of the dealership, when you drive that car, that car goes on like straight. But after 5 years, well, you know what? If you leave that car, it's gonna go like this, right? So now what we want to do is we want to bring that car back into alignment. That's exactly with your portfolio. Well, your portfolio is today, at some point, because of market growth, the portfolio can tilt this way. And then if that happens, we want to make sure that we bring it back this way. That's what you got to do so that you can stay aligned with your vote. Because at the end of the day, what retirement is all about is about aligning your values with your goals. And that's how you get harmony, right? When those two kind of like get together, that's how you enjoy profound retirement. Now, the other thing is like waiting too long, right? Waiting too long, what do I mean by that, right? People have all of their money sitting in one place for far too long, right? Having all of your money in one bucket is, in my opinion, is probably the biggest risk, right, most people make. Now, when you get into retirement, you got to think about different strategies out there. Maybe some money, you want to put it somewhere whereby you know that you're going to use that money now. That's the money that you're going to try to use now. And then that, you probably don't want to put that into the stock market, right? That needs to be somewhere safe because you don't want to be able to get it to sooner, easily, and then be able to use it. Now, you also want to put money in what I call the mid-level bucket, whereby this money here, before you use it, you're going to use this first. And then maybe this will be like maybe for the next 5 years, right? But then you have another bucket over here that's going to be more like for long term. So now the idea here is you use this first, then you move on to this one, then to that one. But before you deplete all of this, and then this one, well, this one, you're going to give it time to grow, right? So here you want to put that into an investment so that it can grow. So we call this more like from a strategy. This is financial planning, right? All right. Mistakes are expensive and preparation is just powerful, right? So I want you to remember that mistakes are very, very expensive, but when you plan, it is powerful, all right? Hi, thanks for watching. You see, retirement is not an event, it's a journey that needs to be planned. And people that are enjoying profound retirement, they've done significant amount of planning. So if you're interested in having a profound retirement, call us. We'll be able to show you a way and then guide you so that you can put a plan in place and then enjoy your profound retirement.